then it could be an environmental thing, because you can't necessarily get away from it. Whereas situational would be the example, like with your sister having friends over, they'll be there for a couple hours, but then they're going to be gone. So it's stressing you right now, but it's not going to be a huge deal in a period of time. Does that make sense? Perfect. Anybody else?
We had mental illness and so did they, so can it be either or should it be in one or the other?
What do you guys think?
Ooh.
All right, Amy.
You're the expert.
I am the expert, but I want to see what you're thinking before I give you what I think. So what were you thinking when you put it under cognitive?
Well, I was thinking that cognitive is kind of mental, the mental side of things. So that's why I put mental illness and cognitive. Biological, but I could see it being biological, but biological is more like I see biological as more like a process that your body goes through. And cognitive is more like a state. But
What? Okay.
I
was going to argue for our side.
Go ahead.
For putting it in under biological. I think it can also go under cognitive. But as far as biological aspect is concerned, I think like what happens when somebody has like misfiring synapses or like something like that, and that's what's causing their depression or their other mental illness.
So in that case, that process that he talked about is going right.
Yeah.
So it's a biological thing that's causing them to be.
But can cognitive be separate from biological? Because then cognitive be part of biological.
And now here's the fun part about health. You're both right. Just kind of like what we talked about the loud noises, how it could be environmental and situational. Mental illness could be considered both. Like Chris alluded to, a lot of mental illnesses are there's some type of biological function going wrong or something biologically that's causing this illness. As far as cognitive, it may not be the actual illness itself, but it may be what the illness is or how the illness is affecting the person. So let's say you guys had depression, I think, as your exact example. While depression isn't technically a cognitive stressor, the effects of this could be them not being able to focus on homework, them not being motivated to focus on schoolwork, just not feeling a part of the classrooms, they're not learning. It could be either one of those possibilities. Okay? So does anybody got any questions about different stressors or anything like that? Perfect. All right, we are going to go into our next part of the lesson then.
Okay, so along with stressors, we need to talk about coping mechanisms for stressors. How you deal with stress. When you were getting tossed the balls, it was easy to deal with one thing at a time. But then when all of them came at you at once, how would you deal with that in real life? Like maybe if we're using the ball tossing visual, you could maybe have like a basket in one hand to try and catch a bunch more and then try and catch other ones with your hands. You'll have coping mechanisms. So the coping mechanism we're going to talk about today is music therapy. There are a variety of activities that you can do for music therapy. You can listen to it, you can just sing it, you can write songs, you can discuss it, you can move to music. If you're a musician yourself, you can do free improvisation where you just play whatever comes to mind. It really depends on your personal preference. You don't have to. If somebody thinks they can't sing, they don't have to sing. If you don't play an instrument, you obviously can't improv very well, or may not want to improv very much. So this caters to a lot of different stress coping needs. It caters to special needs kids. It caters to the elderly. It can be used for relaxation. Did any of you guys go to Nobel this year? Mm-hmm. Yes. There was a speaker about the music in the brain, and he talked about people who had left brain damage. They couldn't speak anymore, and they went through a music therapy program where they were taught to sing what they were feeling or what they wanted to say, which was a right brain function. So it bridged the gap between your right and left brain, and they could speak again if they sang it, if they thought about singing instead of just speaking. So it's a great rehabilitation strategy too. With these stressors, you can have a physical or an emotional response. music kind of covers the emotional response because music evokes certain kinds of emotions. There are two main types of, they're called modes or feelings of music. There's major and minor. Major kind of gives you a happy feel, like very happy, whereas a minor mode is kind of maybe sadder or angrier. A big difference, but that's the only difference. One note. Just a tiny, tiny difference can evoke so many different emotions. So I have a couple of musical excerpts for you to listen to here, and I just want you to jot down on a piece of paper what you're feeling when you hear these. Upbeat. Okay, what else?
Bubbly.
Bubbly? Silly. Excited. What else?
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Carefree. Good.
Sexy and free.
Free. Okay, now I have something very different in a very different genre as well. It's in a minor mode. So I'm going to have you listen to this and do the same thing. Write down the emotions that you feel. Did that evoke?
I want to go fast.
Fast. Rush. Stress. Nervous. Tense. There you go. These are very good descriptors. So there are also certain kinds of chords in music that evoke different emotions. That some of them make you just feel very at ease. Like the first major chord I played. It's very just set. It's very set. But there are certain things that may make you feel like, oh, I want more, uneasy. I heard somebody say maybe a minute ago. There's an anecdote that when Beethoven was learning music, that he would walk up to the piano while his dad was sleeping, and he would play this. And he'd walk away. And his dad would have to get up and go. You'd have to play that last note, because the last note of the scale, I want to go to the end. So music evokes a lot of different kinds of emotions, and music therapy really taps into those emotions and allows you to express them and relieve the stress that you might be feeling. If you're feeling stressed and you're a very active person, you may listen to something that's very fast and go for a run. Or if you're feeling really sad, you might listen to something upbeat to try to pick you up a little bit. So we might unknowingly do certain music therapy techniques in our everyday life with a workout playlist, or with some of you might have a homework playlist that just kind of calms you down and is good study music or something like that. But there are also programs that use specific kinds of music, specific pieces of music to tap into the emotional responses of your stress. So our one more section of music therapy is It's called programmatic music. It's music that, thank you, that tells a story. Can you guys think of any music that tells a story?
Ballet.
Ballets, good.
When I heard that, sorry, I was just saying that second one reminded me of like Tom and Jerry.
There you go. Anything else? Operas, good.
In a musical?
Yeah, a musical. Even something without lyrics can tell a story. Think of movie music, soundtracks. There's the Lord of the Rings soundtrack, actually, the composer wrote it so that you could listen to the music from beginning to end and not need to see the movie. You could tell what was going on by the way he wrote it, by the kinds of music that went along with certain characters, certain scenes. So movie music is also a good idea, or a good example of programmatic music. So our last activity, take out a separate sheet of paper or turn that one over, or a blank area of paper. I'm going to play a song for you, and you're going to draw the story that it might be telling. You can use words if you need to kind of clarify what you're drawing if you're not the best drawer. There's markers if you need to, so I'll start the song, and you'll have until the very end of the song.
Green's very soothing.
Okay, is everybody ready?
That's not a real song.
Everybody ready? Yes? Here we go. The song is called Molly on the Shore. One way that we could have done it is I could have played the music and had you guys fill in the title, come up with the title yourself. Yeah, I kind of gave you a direction to go with. You can try this at home. You can listen to a piece of music that doesn't have words, because that leads you towards the story. You can listen to a piece of music, and then you fill in the title. Guess it.
Words beat you, sure. Okay, so does anybody want to share their picture? All right.
Drew, what your name is Stanley?
Molly.
Molly. So I drew kind of like the other.
Oh, crud.
Kind of like, just like her waking up and then the sun's out, beautiful day, big nice tree, and then like her like running through like her like skipping around through like forest or like a trail, and like stopping and looking at different exciting things on the way.
Good. Anything else? Kate does.
Okay, so this is Molly at the beach, and she comes to the beach, and then she realizes it's so crowded, and she's trying to find a place to sit, that there's people